We've all seen SpaceX rockets take off and land, we've seen Jeff Bezos fly William Shatner up in a Blue Origin rocket.
But that's like watching somebody drive a Formula 1 car to the edge of their driveway. Huge tease. Artemis is so much more.
It's not happening in 5 years or 10 years, it's happening now.
But not without the help of a couple of billionaires who might have other plans for the lunar surface. Welcome to Technality. I'm Alex Melky, and we're going back to the moon.
As ridiculous as it sounds, there are people in the world who right now don't believe humans ever stepped foot on the moon. That the whole thing was an elaborate hoax shot in a Hollywood studio to trick the rest of us into believing that Buzz Aldrin and Neil Armstrong took a giant leap for mankind.
So how do you convince a bunch of conspiracy theorists that the moon landing wasn't a hoax? By going back.
Project Artemis is the interstellar road trip we've been waiting for. Appropriately named after the Greek goddess and twin sister to Apollo, this is the first time in half a century that we head back to that big pizza pie in the sky. The project is spread over 3 missions, the first of which begins in May 2022, with the goal of building a lunar base camp on the moon's south pole and establishing a continuous human presence there. And land the first woman and first person of color on its surface. All of it just a giant dress rehearsal for the ultimate goal: a human flight to Mars.
Quick history lesson for you. Let's set the scene.
After the end of World War II, the Cold War kicked off, pitting the democratic capitalist United States against the communist Soviet Union, each in a race to prove itself as the best. In the late 1950s, that race went to space, each side pushing technology to its limits in order to be the first one to space and beyond. The Russians were first in the world to send a man-made object into space and send a space probe to the moon. So in 1961, US President John F. Kennedy increased NASA's budget by 500% in order to fund Project Apollo. 8 years later, America won the space race with Apollo 11, and the world lost its collective mind. Humans on the moon? What's next? Mars? Another galaxy?
Not exactly. See, after the US beat the Soviet Union to the moon, it became hard to justify the cost of going back. JFK guesstimated that all of Apollo would run them $7 billion. By the end of it, they were in for over $28 billion.
In December 1972, humans left the moon, and for the next 50 years, astronauts stayed within the Earth's orbit. Until now. A humanless Artemis 1 is set to launch in May 2022, strapped to the most powerful rocket in the world. It'll be NASA's chance to test its new deep space exploration systems, including the Orion spacecraft. The Orion will fly farther than any spacecraft built for humans ever has. This time, no one will be on board. During the 4 to 6 week mission, Orion will travel 280,000 miles from Earth, far beyond the moon. It'll then loop back and orbit the moon to collect data and assess the ship's performance before returning back to Earth. The second Artemis mission will see Orion return to space, but this time with a crew on board.
And in a couple of years, we'll be watching the Artemis 3 crew live stream from the moon. Yeah, get ready for TikTok makeup tutorials from space.
Filmed from the soon-to-be-built lunar base camp, a permanent human outpost somewhere other than Earth for the first time in our history. Russia and China also have plans to build a lunar base by 2036. We're witnessing the foundation of moon cities.
It's hard not to make every second thing I say sound like the biggest deal ever, because it is. If Apollo was one giant leap, Artemis is a somersault backflip. But other than sounding really impressive, why go back to the moon?
You could make a grocery list of problems we've got to deal with on planet Earth right now. Climate change, a global pandemic, maybe even nuclear war. So what's in it for us?
For one thing, missions like this hit fast forward on technology in a big way.
It's thanks to past NASA missions that your phone has a camera, or that your AirPods are wireless, laptops, gyms full of workout machines, solar technology, things that have drastically changed the way we live.
So we might find some big answers to some of our biggest problems on our way to learning more about the universe. And then there's the obvious answer: money.
Helium-3 is a super rare natural resource here on Earth that we use as fuel for nuclear fusion. The moon has about $3 trillion of it. There could also be rare metals below the surface, like platinum, in amounts unthinkable here on Earth. And to make all that happen, you need roads, launch pads, dig sites, power. You need money. And while private companies like SpaceX and Blue Origin are making space travel cheaper thanks to their reusable rockets,
you can bet Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk wouldn't mind getting first dibs on that sweet helium-3 paycheck. So whether you're a huge space nerd or not, NASA's Artemis program is kind of a big deal. It can lead to us learning more about ourselves and the universe, which is great, but it can also lead to one of the biggest technological revolutions of our lifetime. Maybe even the next energy boom. And if that happens, do you trust the human race to share what it finds in this next El Dorado fairly? Let us know in the comments.
Hit that subscribe button so you can keep getting more Technality. It's almost as good as stepping foot on the moon.